In this video, we will discuss the topic towards civil disobedience movement, page 62. Civil disobedience means not to obey civil law. Non-cooperation movement was called off in Feb 1922. This period was a period of, we can say, internal debate and dissension in the Congress. Different kind of ideas were emerging. Some wanted to participate in council elections, some wanted to stay away from this. And in between of all this, it so happened that C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, they formed Swaraj Party within the Congress. And they were arguing for return to council politics. Whereas the young leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, they were pressing for more radical mass agitation and they were asking for full, a complete independence. So when all this was happening, there were two factors that actually changed the Indian politics. And what were these two factors that changed the Indian politics? This is the question that we are going to discuss now. The first factor that changed Indian politics was the worldwide economic depression. Now, the whole world was facing this economic depression. By 1926, agricultural prices, they began to fall. By 1930 and after it, prices, they literally collapsed. There was no demand. Now demand fell, their exports declined, and hence the peasants, they could not sell their harvest, they could not pay revenue, and by 1930, countryside, that is the villages, they were in turmoil. The condition of the peasants, it was pathetic. They did not have any money with them, and they were very angry with the British government. Now, second thing that happened during this time, which brought a huge change in Indian politics, was the arrival of Simon Commission. Children, the Tory government in Britain, they constituted Simon Commission. Now, this Simon Commission was given the name Simon Commission because it was headed over by Sir John Simon. And this was basically constituted in response to the nationalist movement that was going on in India. And it was constituted to look into the functioning of constitutional system and to suggest change. And this Simon Commission, where there was not even a single Indian, it arrived in India in 1928. But it was greeted with slogans like "Go back, Simon." It was not welcomed by Indians because there was not even a single Indian there. And on top of it, all the political parties, Congress, Muslim League, and other parties, they knew that Simon Commission is not going to talk about any thing like complete independence. So Congress, Muslim League, all political parties participated in demonstration. Now the situation was so tense. So in order to win them over, Lord Irwin, he kind of played a game. He declared two things. First thing that he declared was that in October 1929, Dominion status will be given to India, and it was a very vague offer and there was no specified date also. Over here, I would like to tell you what exactly is a Dominion status. All of you know that in British India, there were many colonies. So there were certain colonies which were given a special right. They had the right that the local people, the native of that country, could rule the government. They will form the government. But there were defense, finance, and communication that was under British. So Dominion status was they were the colonies of Britain only, but they had their own government. So they said Dominion status will be given. But it was a vague offer. And second thing, he suggested that a round table conference will be convened in London to discuss the future constitution. He did it so that he could win the people over. But it did satisfy the Congress leaders. So there were radicals within Congress. Radicals were the one who wanted changes now, instant changes. They were led by Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose. They became very assertive. So what great change came in Indian politics and Congress? Congress was formed in 1885. Now, initially, Congress was under the influence of the liberals and then the moderates, but the influence of the liberals and the moderates, it was no more there, and radicals and then the extremists became more influential. So this was the change that came in Indian politics. As a result, what happened? Lahore Congress. Now our question is, write a note on Lahore Congress session 1929. Children, this Lahore Congress session, it was presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru, and it was for the first time it formalized the demand of Swaraj. The first article of the constitution said that now our demand is complete independence, and it they also decided that 26th January 1930 would be celebrated as the Independence Day. But this celebration attracted very little attention. Not many people participated. So now Mahatma Gandhi had to find a way to relate this abstract idea of freedom to something real, and hence he thought of civil disobedience movement. Now our question is Salt March and civil disobedience movement. So what are the questions that we are going to discuss? How did civil disobedience movement start, or write a note on Dandi March? Now children, on 31st January 1930, Mahatma Gandhi wrote a letter to Viceroy Irwin. Now we are doing how civil disobedience movement started, or Dandi March. So he wrote a letter to Viceroy Irwin. In his letter, he stated 11 demands. These were wide-ranging demands. Some were of general interest, some were specific demands of industrialists and peasants. Now, basically, he wanted that there should be the demands of all the people belonging to different status, different regions, so that he could bring people together and people could identify with these demands. But the most specific, most stirring demand was to abolish salt tax. Now, children, in India, it was the British government that had the monopoly of manufacturing salt. They alone could make salt, and Indians had to pay salt tax. So Mahatma Gandhi put this demand to abolish salt tax. Now, question is, why Mahatma Gandhi chose salt? Because simple, he chose salt because it was consumed by all. It was most essential item of the food. It was a powerful symbol that could unite all. And then Mahatma Gandhi said that if the 11 demands were not fulfilled by 11th March, he would start civil disobedience movement. Now, Irwin did not negotiate, so Mahatma Gandhi started Salt March. So, first wrote a letter and then Salt March. Now, he accompanied by his most trusted 78 volunteers, he started the march. They had to cover 240 miles from Sabarmati in Ahmedabad to Dandi in Gujarat. All of them walked for 24 days, 10 miles a day, and there thousands of people who joined them, and Mahatma Gandhi told them about the concept of Swaraj. 6th April, they reached Dandi, and then there ceremonially Mahatma Gandhi violated salt. What he did, they boiled the salt water and they manufactured salt and this started the civil disobedience movement because they had broken the salt law. Children, there is one difference between civil disobedience movement and non-cooperation movement. Civil disobedience movement meant break colonial law, and non-cooperation movement refuse cooperation to the British government. Now we will discuss how did civil disobedient movement develop and why was it called off. So as you know, salt law was broken. People started manufacturing salt. Now there were demonstrations in front of government salt factories. Then people boycotted foreign cloth. Peasants refused to pay revenue and chowkidari taxes. Village officials resigned like Tehsildars, Kanago, etc. And then forest people violated forest laws and they entered the reserved forests. Now this is how it developed. Now what did the British government do then? Now children, worried by the development, colonial government arrested Congress leaders. It led to violent clashes. Abul Ghaffar Khan was arrested. Angry crowd demonstrated in streets of Peshawar and they were fired at by police and many died. And this happened in April 1931. 1 month after this, in May 1930, Mahatma Gandhi ji was also arrested. And in retaliation, industrial workers in Sholapur, they attacked police stations, government buildings, etc. And government responded with brutal repression. Satyagrahis, women, children, all of them were beaten up. 1 lakh people were arrested. So, in such a situation, Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off civil disobedience movement, and for this he entered into a pact with by Irwin. It is called Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Now, our question is, what was Gandhi-Irwin Pact? For Gandhi-Irwin Pact, civil disobedience movement was called off. Now, Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed in 5th March 1931. Gandhi gave the consent to participate in Second Roundtable Conference, London. Congress had boycotted, children, let me tell you, the first Roundtable Conference. Altogether, there were 3 Roundtable Conferences. And the government agreed to release political prisoners. Now, what happened in Second Roundtable Conference? Nothing much. December 1931, Gandhi went to London. Negotiations over there broke down. Gandhi came back disappointed, and back home, Congress was banned. Congress leaders were arrested, and therefore Mahatma Gandhi relaunched. He had called it off, no? So he relaunched civil disobedience movement for 1 year, but movement lost its momentum. So now your long question is, write a note on Dandi March. You will start from 11 demands, and you will write about how Mahatma Gandhi broke salt law and it started civil disobedience movement. So when I'm saying write a note on Dandi March, I exactly want you to write a question. Now listen to me very carefully. How did civil disobedience movement start? Thank you.